What if you discovered you had a superpower? What if you had something inside you that made you strong enough to brace against the pressure or choose to give in? That lets you speed things up or slow them down? That gave you the ability to fight or to simply let go? It sounds silly, doesn't it? We all know that superpowers are for the Avengers and the Incredibles. They aren't real. I never used to think that real people could have superpowers either. When I was at school, I was that irritating high achiever. You know the one? Top of the class in practically everything. There doesn't seem to be a thing they can't do. You'd think they were a SWAT if it wasn't for the fact that they never seemed to try very hard. That was me. But then, everything came crashing down. I got a headache and a cough one day, so I went to bed. I didn't get up again. I had chronic fatigue syndrome, though this was only diagnosed months after my world fell apart. Brought on by a combination of an autoimmune disease that meant my body was attacking its own tissues, repeated viral infections, and my persistent overachieving. My body had given up. At the beginning, I can't say there was very much self-discovery going on. I was too ill and too tired to even get out of bed most days. I was taking it 1 hour, 1 minute at a time. But after a while, a very long while, I started to do something I'd never really done before. I started to explore. Now, I don't mean your usual sort of exploration. This was a deep, almost philosophical exploration of something I barely had left. Me. Being ill had taken away from me lots of the things people use to describe themselves. I could barely process words to the point that I couldn't read anymore, which meant my academics were an afterthought. My fingers had forgotten how to play, so I wasn't a musician anymore. All of the things that people used to define themselves by were gone. All that was left was the thing underneath, the person I was without all those extras. It was almost like meeting myself for the first time, introducing me to me, learning who I was without the labels. And let me tell you something. I'm awesome. I'm not talking about the marks I got in tests, the things that made me valued by society's narrow-mindedness. I'm talking about what was underneath that. My superpowers. That might sound incredibly corny. You probably want to cringe right now. Nevertheless, it's true. I had to effectively relearn how to walk. It started with walking for 1 minute, then 2, then 5, then 8, you get the picture. It was then that I started exploring my first superpower, determination. Practically everything had come easily to me before, so the ability to keep pushing on, even though it was incredibly difficult, I didn't know I could do that. But by exploring this power I had, I learned that by persevering, I would eventually reach my goal. It took almost 2 years, but by grasping my determination like a lifeline, I was able to work up to an hour-long walk. And now, I can walk as long as I like. The second superpower I discovered was resilience. In the beginning, my outlook had been bleak. I was classed among the most severe cases of chronic fatigue, and as far as the first doctor I saw was concerned, my life was over. All my hobbies and loves were gone. I had to abandon them, and I just had to scrape a couple of GCSEs to appear at least a little employable. Can you imagine that? being told that everything you'd worked for and dreamed of had been taken away from you, just like that. I wasn't satisfied with that. No matter how bone-achingly exhausted I was sure my life would amount to more than my fatigue. Unfortunately, there were plenty of times my fatigue didn't agree with me. It was then that I discovered just how resilient I could be. I had setback after setback, but after every frustrating disappointment, I had to bounce back. Sure, it sucked, but I got over it and I carried on. I had to be strong. I had to recover mentally, because otherwise I would languish at that point and never improve. I'm not going to keep talking about my superpowers, though I am going to keep calling them superpowers, however much that makes you cringe. Instead, I'm going to talk about what this has to do with you. Any guesses? It's because you have superpowers too. Sometimes we just need a reminder to help us to explore them. There are so many superpowers out there. You might find only a few are very easy to find in yourself, while others need a little more intense exploration to discover. You won't necessarily know it yet, but you could be determined and resilient. You could be loyal, courageous, honest, compassionate, responsible, resilient, adaptable, generous, compassionate. There are so many superpowers out there. Not everyone is everything. We are not gods. We're human. But I know for certain there are 2 superpowers every single person in this room has, and I think they are the most important of all. The first is the power to say no. Sometimes an opportunity isn't right for us. Sometimes it isn't the right time. Sometimes we aren't surrounded by the right people to help us follow through on a particular decision. It's okay to say no. You probably haven't discovered yet the rush of strength you can draw from saying no, especially considering we often associate it with negativity. Being a killjoy, spoiling other people's fun, losing out. But no does not mean being negative. It means being true to yourself. It means redirecting your energy to where it deserves to be. It means remembering to take care of yourself. I saved the most important superpower until last. The ability to say yes. Yes to change. Yes to opportunity. Yes to being who you truly are. Superpowers and all. Saying yes is the way to open doors for yourself. It's the reason I'm standing here in front of you today. Saying yes is giving yourself permission to try something new, to risk failure, and to embrace who you might become as you change and learn. It empowers you to take control of your own fate. The word alone, yes, is filled with positivity and potential. There is so much power, both in saying yes and saying no, as long as you are honest with yourself about why you are doing so. Here is my task for you. I want you to go away from here and try something new. It doesn't have to be extraordinary. Try something small, something just a little out of your comfort zone. Maybe you avoid paying with cash because it makes you uncomfortable that there are people waiting for you. Next time, slow down and take the time to count out the coins and then thank the cashier for their patience. Maybe you don't like signaling waitstaff in a restaurant. It can be awkward. Next time, try to do it with some confidence. If you are feeling really adventurous, you might try a new hobby or activity, something for which success is by no means guaranteed. While you're doing this, do some exploration. What power have you drawn on to help you count out the cash, signal the waiter, or try something new? I don't know what you will discover. Your superpowers are unique to you. But I do know that you will learn that setbacks and disappointments are not permanent, and the world doesn't end when life doesn't go to plan. You will learn that you are awesome. I don't want any of you to have to hit rock bottom like I did before you realize just what you are capable of. Every one of you has inherent abilities and qualities. You have superpowers that will help you to persevere and succeed as long as you take the time to discover them. Thank you.